Libya, of course, simply the most recent effort. There are also currently about 100,000 U.S. troops in Afghanistan and 50,000 in Iraq, not to mention the more under-the-radar efforts going on right now in Yemen and Pakistan. So this is people, the human cost. I don't even want to start with the financial cost to this country. I've got Jake Delberto here. He is an RT blogger and also a military analyst. And of course, Jake, you also a veteran. Now, at the beginning of the show, we showed a poll that showed that 72% of Americans, of likely voters, think that the U.S. is involved in too many efforts abroad and should start removing troops. As a veteran, how does this make you feel to know that you've served the country, a lot of people you still know, still in touch with, are out there serving it right now? What does this say to you?
It shows that the American people are tired of war. We saw Secretary Gates say yesterday that nobody's more tired of war than the military families and the veterans that have served there. But now it's showing that what we have all been saying for a long period of time since 2007, after the Iraq, or 2008, after the Iraq surge was done, that the American people are catching on board with what we've been saying, which was it's time to bring this open-ended war to an end.
I'm wondering, why the disconnect here. We think about President Obama back when he was candidate Obama, and his primary challenger in his party was Hillary Clinton. Yeah. And his one thing, before it was jobs and the economy, before that became a major issue, before the financial collapse, it was the war. And time again, he faulted her for voting for the war in Iraq. And a lot of people speculate that that's why he came out ahead.
I think that's a good guess. I think they're right.
So let's talk about that difference between candidate Obama and now President Obama, who has said he wants to speed up the withdrawal of troops in Afghanistan, but all we've seen so far in Afghanistan is a surge of troops.
Sure.
So there's a lot of talk and a little action here, and now we have proof that Americans want more action. Yeah.
Well, I better be careful not to support President Obama here because I'm not certainly been a big fan. I think that there's a couple things that we did see with President Obama. Afghanistan was virtually neglected once the Bush administration chose to go inside of Iraq. And as a result of that, the Obama administration tripled down, first with, I think, 10,000, then 17, then 30,000 more troops. As a result of that, people can debate what they want, but nonetheless, there needed to be attention given to Afghanistan because there's nothing done since 2002, virtually the same strategy. When the strategy chose was bad, the policy chose and the policy advisors he brought around him, I thought was a very bad decision, counterinsurgency and nation building and all of that. And as a result of this reckless decision, I think, by President Obama, now we're spending somewhere between $10 million an hour. We've got 5,000 Americans killed as a result of the war, and God knows about 1 million Iraqis and Afghans. Americans have had enough.
But, Jake, this is America. We have a democracy here. We have a system in place in which the will of the people is supposed to be demonstrated by those officials that they elect into office. Clearly, this poll and what we're starting to see with a lot of the dialogue that's coming out is showing that that's just not happening. Why do you think that those, we just take a look at the Pentagon budget.
Sure.
We take a look at the spending that is given, the money that's given to these wars. That is certainly not in congruence with what Americans are feeling. Why?
Well, let's start with Obama. First, we had the bank bailouts, followed up from the Bush administration, TARPs and unpaid for tax liabilities that the Bush administration gave. Now we've got the military spending, and what the American people are most influenced by in the polls is finances. They want money in their pocketbook. Americans want to work. They want their houses. They want freedom. They want their own identity. They don't want the government to be taking everything and giving it to Afghanistan or Iraq. Or in a lot of liberal-minded people think that what we're doing is actually occupying and killing a lot of innocent people over there. So we certainly Americans in general don't want to be killing innocent people, and Americans don't want their tax dollars given or taken from them. So that's why.
It's pretty interesting, too, just if we think about what we've seen over the weekend in terms of some of the lawmakers and politicians kind of taking different stances than we're used to in terms of the hawk position and the dove position. President Obama, as you've already seen, sort of seen as hawkish, continuing to, the surge in Afghanistan, the involvement at all in Libya that he's in favor of.
Sure.
And then we have people like Lindsey Graham, and I never thought I'd say this in now time post 2008 election, John McCain saying Obama's right to be involved in Libya, and yet then we also have a lot of Republicans coming out saying, wait a minute, he didn't get congressional approval. we should think about this. So talk about this redefinition of, the Hawks versus Dove. It's no longer a blue and red issue.
Well, what I used to think about John McCain, he has turned into a wackadoodle. He is so old and senile, the man really needs to be brought to a nursing home and provided care for. He has, whatever John McCain says is so irrelevant. He's so removed from the troops, this rhetoric, I support the troops. It's a bunch of nonsense. But really what's going on within the discontent is what General Bruce Palmer said after Vietnam. And that was, General Bruce Palmer said, the American people will not stand for an ambiguous war of an unpredictable nature in which it does not end favorable and suitable to the United States. This is something we heard 40 years ago. Now, so the American people, that's where they're at. We've got guys like McCain and Lindsey Graham who get a lot of money from defense contractors. They get a crap load of support from pro-war military organizations, and as a result, they get to get on TV. And do they really care about the troops? No. John McCain does not care about the U.S. military. It is a lie to say he does. God bless him for his military service, but he does not care in the least bit what's going on.
RT blogger and military analyst Jake Delberto, I'm going to keep you here a little longer as we move on to our next story. Of course, the question of the U.S.-led war efforts is one that frequently comes up on the campaign trail. Now, over the weekend, many of the Republican candidates gathered in New Orleans for the Republican Leadership Conference to talk about their ideas for how to move this country forward. Now, among them, Congressman Ron Paul, the only candidate who has said from day one that the U.S. should not be involved in any of the war efforts, that we should withdraw our troops and the money from Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya. Now, at one time, this was an idea that was considered radical, on the fringe, but it's one that must be registering more and more. Turns out Ron Paul, at this event, he won the straw poll. He was there, and it was barely a contest. He had 612 votes. The next in line was John Huntsman, who scored 382. Of course, perceived frontrunner Mitt Romney, well, he got just 74 votes. Ron Paul, in an interview this morning on the Today Show, says he has an idea about why he has so much support, especially from the young people.
It's endless, undeclared, unwinnable wars dumped on the young people, and also the financial crisis that we have related to the foreign policy, and we're dumping that debt on the young people. And that's why the next generation, the current young people between the age of 15 and 25 or 30, they're with me because they're getting dumped on, and that to me is the big issue.
All right, I want to bring Jake Delberto back into this conversation. We're talking about Ron Paul, 612 votes, almost double what the next person in line, John Huntsman, got at this straw poll. It is just a straw poll, but let's not forget, this isn't the only straw poll that Ron Paul has won.
You gotta love Ron Paul, right? He's such a charismatic guy. Young people are flocking to him. Hundreds of thousands of people across America are running into the Ron Paul camps. And you ask why? Like, why did he get twice the number of votes? Because Americans are looking for fresh ideas. They're tired of hearing God bless America, and they're tired of hearing about socialism. They really want the idea of freedom and liberty to come apart through a smaller government. And that's why he's growing support. The people supporting him, largely, as he said, are young people, ages, this polls say 15 to 35. That's his general support base, largely. And that's about 25% of the 25% of the voting bloc in the United States. People say Ron Paul can't win. I actually think he can.
And it's not just people, Jake, right? When you turn on the television on a lot of these cable networks, a lot of these people don't consider him a front runner despite things like the straw poll. Let's take a look. I think we have some clips.
And Romney fares the best of the current Republican presidential candidates. Romney remains the frontrunner and establishment Republican choice.
42% say Romney is the best matchup against President Obama. The rest of the field isn't even close.
Right now, Romney is not exciting anybody, and nobody else in that field appears poised to challenge Romney.
Romney's way ahead at 43 with Paul at 11. He'll probably hold that throughout. He won't matter, but he'll hold it.
He won't matter, says Chris Matthews of MSNBC. Why does this seem to be the general consent among so many cable networks? He won't matter. He's a fringe candidate still to this day.
Well, it's two reasons. Most of the mainstream media and a lot of the establishment kind of political folks are invested in establishment candidates. Ron Paul is not necessarily establishment. He's been there a long time, but he's libertarian-minded, so people don't know this. But let's get something straight, okay? Mitt Romney is like watching a monkey screw at a football. Like, he's absolutely horrible. You have Romney care, and then he criticizes Obama for doing the exact same thing. Romney says in March, I want to stay in Afghanistan forever. He says at the last poll, we need to get out of Afghanistan. I mean, this guy is the biggest joke on the Republican ticket. And Paulette Bachmann and Herman Cain are no better. The only two people on that platform, I think, that have anything of substance to offer would be Huntsman and Ron Paul. And no wonder they just polled the highest.
It's pretty interesting, though. I mean, you mentioned this Romney. And these are actually polls that are taken. The one that was shown, the NBC Wall Street Journal poll, whoever they're polling, it's obviously different than the people voting in the straw poll. But, there's some consistency to that in terms of people voting for who they would vote for. But you're right. Mitt Romney has a record of being a flip-flopper. Let's talk about this with Ron Paul, though. I mean, he has consistently said the same thing, but something's changed. Talk to me about what you think has changed in terms of these ideas, these smaller government. We have the Tea Party, which was born of that concept. Pull the troops out, less war. Why do you think that this is becoming more accepted?
Again, it's going back to the first block we had in this news segment, where we talked about what matters most to the American public. What matters most to the American public is money. Bottom line, it's money. Wars cost a lot of money. High taxes cost a lot of money. When you have high taxes and you have wars, the republic, the people on the average grassroots, they're the ones that have to pay for that. And they're tired of doing it. There have been 10 years, the longest war in history. He's the only candidate up there that said, yeah, it's time to end these shenanigans.
But, Jake, let's be honest, though. I mean, I've got to bring this up. This was brought up, I think, this morning in the interview on NBC that Ron Paul did. A lot of these ideas people can jump on board with. But when you talk about getting government out and you talk about really, really cutting back the involvement of government, that also includes a lot of social programs. And when you have a candidate getting up there and saying the government shouldn't make laws about drug use, we're not just talking about marijuana, we're talking about heroin, that doesn't resonate with people.
No, it doesn't. I criticize. I was on a program, Adam versus Demand, a few weeks back, and on this network, and I talked about how Ron Paul supporters have they've got a lot to learn, and supporting the legalization of marijuana and heroin is not a winning issue. Ending wars and lowering taxes is a winning issue, and that's what they should stay focused on, not into the heroin and shenanigans. Yeah. One
sentence or less, what's it going to take for Ron Paul to be not considered a fringe candidate by the mainstream media?
Start watching RT.
All right, I like that advice. Sounds good. RT blogger and military analyst Jake Gilberto.